This video is going to talk about how we can format numbers. I've talked about in the first video, when you type a number in, you don't type the dollar signs, you don't type the currency, you just type it the way you want it, and then, not type it the way you want it, just type the number, and then we're going to learn how we can format it. So you notice here that on the Home tab in the number group, that these are all considered general. Basically what general means is however it's typed in is how it's going to look. It doesn't do anything fancy to it, okay? So for our markup right here, this should be a percentage. So I'm going to highlight this range. I'm going to highlight this range, and I'm going to go up here to my drop-down list, and I'm going to say, look, I want it to be a percentage, okay? You notice that it by default gives 2 decimal places. You have the ability to use these buttons here to increase or decrease your decimal. So I'm going to decrease that down so that it has no decimal places, okay? The other way that you can do that, and I'll do it with this range right here. So if I have this percent off, do you notice that this button here is just a quick way to do the percent style, okay? So I pick percent style, and that one actually gives it no decimal places, right? So if I wanted to increase the decimal places for that one, I'd have to go up here and I could do increase decimal, and that would take care of that. All right, next let's format our cost. So from our drop-down list here, we're going to take a look at the fact that there's 2 options here that show dollar signs. One is currency and the other is accounting. And I just want to show you the difference between the two. So first I'll do currency. Okay, so you see currency looks exactly like what we would think. It gives us a dollar sign tight with the number. It gives us the 2 decimal places for cents. Same thing applies here for decreasing the decimal place, but we'll leave those as is, okay? And now for the retail price, let's change this up a bit, and let's go in and make this an accounting number format to see if we can tell what the difference between the two is. Well, this is sort of interesting. Okay, sorry about that. So this is sort of interesting. You see here, it's a little hard to tell, but notice that we have these number signs. That's not hard to tell, okay? What those number signs mean is that your column width is not big enough to fit the number. Unlike text that gets cut off, they don't want to cut off a number because if they did, it wouldn't give you a true representation of what the number is, okay? So if I just simply adjust my column width here, I would actually see my numbers. Okay, so now do you see the difference here between currency? Notice the dollar sign is tight with the number, and accounting, the dollar signs are all left aligned in the cell. And that's just typical sort of accounting format. If you ever have seen a balance sheet, they always have it formatted that way. So that's the difference between currency and accounting, okay? So now let's do the sale price and profit amount. I'll do all of these, and I'll set these as currency, okay? And again, I get the issue of the number signs. And the reason for that is because with the dollar signs and the 2 decimal places, it's taking up more room. So it's pretty typical when you apply a format that you might have to adjust your column widths so that they show all of the data. And then my profit margin here, I'm going to do percent style. I also want to point out, though, that I could go to cell styles down here, and I could pick percent style here as well. Okay, so that does the same thing basically as applying it here as a percent style. Okay, and this one I should point out is the accounting number format. And the only one I didn't cover, well, so far is what we would call the comma style. So let me just show you that quickly. Let's say we enter the number 555,600. That's good. Okay, so if I click on that, I don't want dollar signs. I just want a comma. That would be here under, well, actually, probably the quickest way is to do here comma style, and you do comma style, and it gives you the comma, and it gives you the 2 decimal places, okay? And then I could choose to decrease the decimal, all right? The other way that you could do it is if you were to do just plain number, right? That would give you the decimal places without the comma, but you have the option of further formatting that. So let me just show you. This is your dialog box launcher for your number format. If you click on that, you notice here that number is a category, and here you could set it so you could say, hey, I want 2 decimal places, or maybe I just want 1 decimal place, and I want the thousand separator. So I could check that box, and it would give me that comma, okay? This also gives you further options of how you would want negative numbers formatted. So let's say a number went negative, I could choose to show it in red. If I pick that option there, instead of a negative sign, it would actually show it in red, okay? And you see other options, currency, You can do the same thing, accounting, right? Same type of deal. And we'll come back in and talk about some of these other ones in a second, but I'll do this number one. And I just want to show you that, watch, if I did switch this to a negative, I'm typing the subtraction sign, 200,000, right? 2 million I actually typed in it. Notice it's red because I made it a negative number. Okay. All right. So let's go back up to our date here and see what our options are for here. You can see that it knows it's a date, right? But if I want to change the date format, if I click on the dialog box launcher, notice all the different options for date formats that I have. It's a scrollable list. I can go all the way down. So if I chose that I wanted it in this longer view, you can see that down here it always shows March 14th as the type, as just in a sample. But up here in the sample area, it's showing your actual date, okay, what it would look like. So if I click OK, you can see how it changed the date there, which is kind of a cool thing. All right, one other thing I want to talk about when we talk about number formatting. Things like phone numbers and zip codes. You would think when you hear phone number that it's a number, but it's not actually a number, it's actually text. Same thing with a zip code. A zip code makes a little bit more sense. So my zip code in Westerly is 02891. There is no actual number that starts with 0. So if I want to be able to enter that in, because watch, if I type in 02891, right, and I hit enter, look what happens. It makes it 2891, okay? So that's not correct. So what I need to do is go in and let it know that, hey, this is a text. So I do text and I click OK. So I apply the format first, and then I'm able to actually type the number in, which is kind of cool. Okay, so that then is considered a text field. You also have the ability to do sort of special formats, and those special formats are for zip code, phone number, social security number. So what's cool about that is if you set it as social security number, and let's say you type in a number like that, you'll see how it formats it automatically with the dashes. I didn't type the dashes, but it put them in there for me because it knows it's social security number. Okay, so, and it shows a special formatting. I think that's all I want to talk about for formatting. I know that in one of your homework assignments, they have you increase the indent for one of your columns. So I do want to show you that you have the ability to do that even with numbers. See how it just kind of, I increased it twice and it almost made it kind of centered. So that's kind of a weird thing that you can do. But it's different than actually centering it. So it's just increasing the indent. I just kind of wanted to point that out because I know that is in one of the videos. So if we were to step through here, we have the ability to do general is just any number. Number is how it's typed. It is like you have the option of doing the thousand separator and the decimal places. Currency, $, type with it. Accounting, $, all the way to the left. Short date is just a quick way of doing the date in short format versus long format. If you want to do more formatting for date, you would hit the dialog box launcher for that. You can format for time, percentage, fractions, scientific notation, and text. Okay, or you could always go to more number formats, which is the same as, which is the same as clicking this dialog box launcher here, right? So that or more number formats will bring you to the same place. And that's basically everything I just stepped through each of these. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of how you can format numbers in Excel. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me.